everyone. Welcome to On The Record, brought to you by Woolworths, as we take a sneak peek at this week's edition of the AFL Record, Australia's #1 selling sports weekly. And joining me in the studio is my colleague, senior writer Pete Ryan. Pete, welcome.
Great to be here, Ash.
Now, Pete, of course, the big story this week is Patrick Dangerfield going back to Adelaide to play against the Crows for the first time. You live in Geelong, you cover Geelong, you are Geelong. Just how big has it been having Paddy back in the Hooped affair?
Well, Geelong was an exciting enough place to live before Paddy Dangerfield, but it's gone to stratosphere levels. I tell you, from the moment #ComeHomePaddy was released, and then he played in an Adelaide jumper and everyone cheered him when he played down at Geelong. Then his first press conference, he explained exactly why he wanted to join Geelong. His family was down there. He grew up watching the club on the terraces at Simmons Stadium. And then he's just basically been Dangerfield mania. Every conversation you have with a Geelong person is about Paddy Dangerfield, and I'm not sick of it yet.
Oh, right, very good. How has he made the team better?
Well, he's made the team better because, A, he's a superstar. He's averaging 627 metres gained. That's incredible this season. But he's also made his teammates better. Joel Selwood, Josh Caddy, Stephen Motlop. They're giving a chop out and they're enjoying having such a dynamic player around them.
Big question, can he win the Brownlow?
Well, there's no doubt he can win the Brownlow. The only problem for him is that Joel Selwood's also a Brownlow candidate, so they might steal votes off each other. They equal leaders of the AFL coaches' votes. Paddy Dangerfield, though, for the past 4 seasons has polled at least 20 Brownlow votes a year, so he is an absolute standout chance.
I think he is a very good show for the Brownlow, for people into that sort of thing. Now, of course, the tender an Adelaide person, hard as it might be, what sort of reception can he expect to receive on Friday night when he runs down to Adelaide Oval? He's played there before, of course, and for some reason the Port Adelaide supporters jeered him. I would have thought a standing ovation might have been the way to go, but given he walked out on the Crows, what will he get from the Crows fans Friday night?
Well, I interviewed Paddy Dangerfield after the game on Saturday, and his comment, I think, summed it up best. He said, with a big grin on his face, I think they'll be really happy for me and they'll cheer. So, in other words, he can expect constant booing for each of the 30 possessions that he picks up, and he will love it, and they won't want to needle him too much because it'll just drive him to greater heights.
We've actually got a story about it. In the feature, I spoke to Rob Chapman, who's the chairman of the Crows, and he said, we don't want to make it too comfortable for him.
Well, I think they can make it very uncomfortable at Adelaide Oval. They're good at that for opposition players and supporters.
Just quickly, who wins?
Oh, Geelong win. Adelaide's midfield's battling a little bit.
So down in Launceston on Saturday, it will be a big week for Bradley Hill, the Hawthorn 3-time premiership wingman, as he plays against his brother Stephen. Equally good, perhaps better wingman for Fremantle. That's what I'm going to put to you, Pete. Who's the better Hill, Stephen or Bradley?
Well, it's a really tough question, but I think Stephen just gets the nod over Bradley. His resilience is incredible. He's been third in the best and fairest for the Fremantle in the past 2 seasons when Fremantle have been a premiership contender. He's played at least 19 games, I think, for each season since 2009, which is incredible because you don't think of Stephen Hill as being captain resilience, but there's one thing, or there's actually 3 things that Brad Hill would produce every Christmas dinner which would annoy Stephen, I can imagine, and they are premiership medals.
He has 3 pieces of bling that he keeps. He takes them back to Perth for his end-of-season holiday. He keeps them at his brother's house.
Is that right?
He does. I think he puts them out. Someone to needle his brother occasionally and say, look what I've got that you don't have.
Now, the question for you, Ash, is the Hawks. I know you're a big Hawks man. How are they faring in their quest to go 4 in a row for only the 2nd time in the AFL history?
They're going all right. They're not playing anywhere near their best footy. I thought last week against Richmond they started to look, in the second half, started to play the sort of footy they like.
I think we've had enough, Ash. Get to the point. Are they going to win their 4th premiership?
History would say no, but one never quite knows. We'll see what happens on that first Saturday in October.
Yeah, I think they're a big chance, actually.
So, Pete, my question for you is, are you surprised that there's maybe 8 teams in contention for the premiership and that the Greater Western Sydney Giants are among those?
Well, I am surprised because we didn't really, it's sort of a new club, but when you think about it, they've beaten Geelong and Hawthorn this season, who have won 6 of the past 8 premierships. They've got 22 first-round picks on their list, which is incredibly talented. They've added Steve Johnson, Heath Shaw, these types of players who have played in premierships before. They're a good side. We shouldn't be surprised.
What's their ceiling this year? Can they win the premiership? I'm putting it out there.
Well, I want to make a big statement. I think that the Giants can win the premiership this year. There's no doubt they've got the talent. There's no ceiling. If Shane Mumford stands up, they will be playing in the grand final in 2016. And you know this, Ash, if they win it, it would only be their 2nd win on the MCG because we're presuming they'll get a couple of home finals, go straight onto the MCG and win the flag.
I agree with you. I think Mumford stands up, they win it, and if they play like they did against Hawthorn a couple of weeks ago, they'll absolutely it up to their ears. They played really well. Pete, it's been great having you on board for On The Record, and we'll look forward to reading your stuff, as always, on afl.com.au.
It is unravelling for this young, injury-hit Magpies team. Tuvey, more! Great mark! When he can get a run and a jump, look at that. Got a run, jump, no body against him at all. There's Rowe in front just saying, OK, exactly where do you want me to position myself so you can trample all over me?
In space is Hill. Drives it inside the forward 50. Puopolo! He's got that patented. What about an aerialist? Hard to believe. On his chest, he's mocking the opposition.
Stringer's going to launch from behind. Big effort. And he's been paid the mark. Stringer, who started this game looking like he was going to tear it apart and copped a bit of a corky, and this is his first real impact since. A contested mark. I think he did have enough of that there. That's it.
So, of course, go to afl.com.au to have your vote for this week's contenders. I, of course, will vote for Paul Puopolo, but then again, people will say that I'm terribly biased. And finally, let's have a look at my tips for round 8. Adelaide will win the big Friday night game by about a goal. It's going to be a beauty. The tough game of the round, Brisbane versus Collingwood, two teams not going very well, but I think the Gabba might get the edge to the Lions, and I've also think Carlton, as great as they've been, the winning streak stops at 3. Port Adelaide will get the win at Etihad Stadium on Sunday. Thanks for watching this week's edition of On The Record. Don't forget to buy a copy of the AFL Record at all grounds for $5. 2 covers this week, the national cover with the Crows and the Cats, and the MCG on Sunday, the breast cancer cover for the Bulldogs and the Demons. We'll see you next week.